few common mistakes that we see with the lunge or the split squat pattern. So first, really the very first thing that we have to consider is the setup. So from front view here, you want to always make sure that the hips, the knees, and the ankles are all in line. So a lot of times when we see athletes set up for this, they go into that split stance position. The first thing you'll notice is that we have that knee cave-in or valgus. So we really want to make sure that everything stays in line, and we also want to make sure that the hip is nice and level. So what I like to tell my athletes is if we have 2 cups of water on a piece of wood that's coming out of our hips, we don't want to spill that water. So we want to stay nice and level here. Okay? So again, from the start, you want to make sure the hips are underneath the feet, or the feet are underneath the hips, excuse me. Nice and straight, the hips, the knees, and the ankles. You want to step straight back, keeping the knees in line with the hips and the ankles here. Okay? And then the next piece that we usually see is that from the side view, when athletes step back, they either step back too far, so their knee is really behind the hip, which we don't want, which kind of forces this extension in the back. Again, if we're really straight up and down, we have that big extension in the back. And then the other piece that a lot of athletes will end up doing is actually coming too close here too. So we kind of set up into this crunch position, the knees in front of the hip here, and we're kind of balled over ourselves. So really the biggest thing when we want to step back is step straight back, keeping the knee right underneath the hip here. And a really good cue that I like to use with all the athletes is act like if you're about to go into a sprint position. That allows us to actually load the hip a little bit more versus staying straight up and down. Because if we're going for a split squat or a lunge here, straight up and down, again, it's putting a lot of extension in the back. We're actually driving into the quad versus if I'm in that hip loaded position, just like I was about to take off for a sprint, we're gonna be more likely to use the glute, which is exactly what we wanna feel in this exercise. Whichever leg's in front, we wanna feel that glute really working for us. So we're keeping the knees in line, the hips nice and level, and then we're gonna drop straight down, just like we were about to take off for a sprint here, that good sprint position. Obviously you could hold some weight here, but again, we're trying to really focus on that front glute, keeping abs in, and we're dropping down. Same goes for if you were doing a reverse lunge or any kind of lunging position. You can step back into it, go into it. Again, you can be holding weight on the side, coming through, digging through that heel, really trying to push the turf behind you. Coming through, using that here. Again, from the front position, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna step straight back, keeping a proud chest, but going into that sprint position. Coming through, digging through that front heel, knees are staying out, hip is staying level. Okay, so to recap, we always want the hips, the knees, and the ankles in line. We want the hip staying nice and level. We want to step straight back in line with that hip, knee, and ankle. From the side view, we don't want to step too straight back because that forces us to be real tall, real straight up, and it forces us to use the quads a lot. We want to think about being in that sprint position. So when we step back, the knee is right underneath the hip, sprint position. Again, you could hold weight here, you could hold weight here, you could even have a barbell on your back. We're gonna drop straight down into it. Say we're doing a reverse lunge, we're stepping forward, really digging through that front heel, using that front glute here. Staying nice and proud. The shin stays nice and vertical. That's the last cue, is a nice vertical shin. And we're going through. So again, that's how we want to fix our split squats, our reverse lunge, forward lunge, any kind of lunging position in that split stance position. Things stay in line, hips stay level. Think about that sprinting position so we get back in that hip a little bit. And we're really trying to feel that glute do the work, not the quads in front. So I hope that helps you out with your squats and your lunges. Be back soon.